Welcome once again, my fellow manipulators of digital fate. I'm Richie, this is Capricorn, and today we're back at it with another standard deck tech straight out of Tarkir Dragonstorm Standard. No, this is not an alchemy deck, because the great alchemy boycott of 2025 continues to roll on. I will not play alchemy. Let me know in the comments how you feel about that. This one's called Counterfell. It is a Selesnya Counters Matters deck where the counters are falling everywhere. We're using Warden of the Grove and Smile at Death and Bulwark Ox in the same deck to do some absolutely ridiculous things that a lot of times our opponent just doesn't see coming. And I've been waiting to do this for quite a while. Before we dive into the deck and then get to the gameplay, please like the video. It does help the channel grow. It helps so much more than you could ever possibly imagine. And to you guys that have been liking every video every time, thank you so much. It means so much. Catch me live Monday through Friday over on Twitch. That's twitch.tv/QuarantineCapricorn. Because if I'm alive and I'm breathing, I'm there and I'm streaming. And also, if you're new, subscribe so you never miss a video, because I got tons of craziness on the way. But let's dig in. So this is Counterfell, and the counters are absolutely falling all over the place in this one. The entire deck revolves around playing creatures that can get the most value possible off of +1/+1 counters, or playing the cards that are the most valuable and most efficient ways of putting +1/+1 counters onto those creatures to maximize all of that value. We have a brand new card here from Tarkir Dragonstorm in Warden of the Grove, which is kind of the backbone of the deck. This card was nuts. A 2/2 Hydra for 1 green and 2. At the beginning of your end step, you get to put a +1/+1 counter on it, and whenever another non-token creature you control enters, it endures X, where X is the number of counters on this creature. So not only do all of your creatures get to enter the battlefield with counters on them already, just starting with counters on them immediately when you play them, and maximizing those counter synergies that we talked about, but you also have the versatility of, if you need to go wider, you can shoot out creature tokens instead. And what's great about Warden of the Grove, you don't have to rely on its own ability to put counters on itself in order to increase that Endure X, because this entire deck revolves around counters and has a ton of other ways of putting counters on our creatures, which means you could just pile a bunch of counters on this guy with your other cards, and then its Endure X is going to astronomically increase and make the deck just absolutely bonkers, which I love. It's also worth pointing out that this is a 2-power creature, even though it's a 3-drop, so it works incredibly well with Smile at Death. 2 white and 3 for an enchantment. At the beginning of your upkeep, you return up to 2 target creature cards with power 2 or less from your graveyard to the battlefield, and then put a +1/+1 counter on each of those creatures. Now, we only ran 1 copy in this version of the deck because I was a little bit worried that this was sort of a win more card and a little bit greedy, and I didn't know how it was going to pan out. But after playing with it, I can assure you this card is nuts, and I think we at least would probably want to add an extra copy, maybe even go up to 3 in future versions of the deck. It works incredibly well with Warden of the Grove because it can just keep bringing it back over and over and over again. So if your opponent's using up their removal early in the game as you're curving out, as soon as you drop your Smile at Death and then untap, you get to bring it back. And when you bring back the Warden of the Grove, it's going to come into play with a +1/+1 counter on it already, which means all of the creatures that you play that same turn will get to endure 1 right out of the gate. You don't have to wait for it to trigger at end of turn and get a counter from itself like you normally would have to do if you were hard casting it. And then at end of turn it gets another counter, goes up to being a 4/4, and gives you even more value on subsequent turns when you get to trigger that Endure X. So Smile at Death, super amazing with Warden of the Grove, and it's especially good in this deck because we have so many ways of protecting our creatures to make sure that we can get to a point where Smile at Death is relevant, and that we're not, you know, on the back foot trying to catch up the whole game. That's when Smile at Death would be really bad. You don't want to spend turn 5 dropping a Smile at Death if you're trying to catch up, because it's going to kind of do nothing that turn, right? But a lot of times that's not the case because we have so much protection for our creatures. And one of the most important cards in doing that is Bulwark Ox. This card's another relatively new one. It didn't come in Tarkir Dragonstorm, but it did come in Aether Drift. This is a 2/2 Ox mount for 1 white and 1. It saddles for just 1. Whenever it attacks while saddled, it gets to spit out a +1/+1 counter onto any target creature. It doesn't have to target something that attacked, which is amazing. And then what really elevates this card is you have this ability, sack this creature, and creatures you control with counters on them gain hexproof and indestructible until end of turn. So because we're going wide with creatures and putting counters on all of them in this deck, this thing just protects our whole board over and over and over again. And then if we do get the Smile at Death online, we can actually just keep bringing back the Bulwark Ox so that we can keep protecting our board, which just gets absolutely nutty. The rest of the deck is just doubling down on all of those counter synergies. In our 1-drop slot, we have the Llanowar Elves so that we can get a tempo boost and get ahead in the game early. We've also got 4 copies of Pawpatch Recruit, which we usually want to try to save for when we have 3 mana to offspring it so that we get 2 of these. But if we don't have anything else to play, we do definitely want to slam this on 1, make sure we have board presence right out of the gate, and then as soon as this thing's in play, if they try to target any of our stuff with removal, we get extra counters that we get to spit out onto other creatures so that we can trigger our synergies and just make things even crazier and harder to deal with for our opponent. Moving on to the 2-drop slots, we have Dusk Legion Duelist, 4 copies of this, which is one of those ways that we can capitalize on those synergies. A 2/2 Vigilance Vampire Soldier for 2 mana, 1 white and 1, and whenever 1 or more +1/+1 counters are put on this creature, you draw a card, but the ability triggers only once a turn. So we're basically drawing an extra card every single turn off this guy because we have so many ways of putting counters on it, and if our opponent is dumb enough to try and kill something with instant speed removal or whatever the case may be, we get to trigger that Pawpatch Recruit, get another counter, maybe even draw another card, and that can get really wild. We also have 4 copies of Reluctant Role Model, which is nuts in this deck. A 2/2 for 2, has a survival ability, so if it is tapped at the beginning of our second main phase, we either get to put a +1/+1 counter on it, a lifelink counter on it, or a flying counter on it. So we get to kind of stock up on evasion and lifelink and more +1/+1 counters. But most importantly, whenever this creature or another creature you control dies, if it had counters on it, you put those counters on up to 1 target creature. So what's so good about this is it sort of exponentially increases if you have multiple copies of Reluctant Role Models. So if you have 2 of these out, you don't just get to keep whatever counters were on that creature. You actually create new counters equal to whatever counters were on that creature. So if you have a creature with a flying counter and a lifelink counter and 3 +1/+1 counters on it, and you have 2 Reluctant Role Models out and that creature dies, well now you get to spit out 2 flying counters, 2 lifelink counters, and 6 +1/+1 counters. You get to double because each of the role models gives you however many counters were on that creature, which is just absolutely mind-boggling to me. And again, we can protect that with the Bulwark Ox, we can bring it back with Smile at Death. It just gets super, super crazy if you can double down on multiple copies. We also have 1 copy of Bristly Bill Spine Sower, a 2 mana 2/2 that lets us spit out a counter onto something whenever we play a land. But it also gives us some late game potential where once we have enough mana, if we're out of gas and don't have better things to do, we can just pay 5 and double the number of +1/+1 counters on each creature you control. And because we have 8 mana dorks in this deck, we can actually get to that 5 mana a lot quicker than you might otherwise think we could, than might be otherwise apparent. And yeah, we can actually make really, really good use of that 5 mana ability. Twitching Doll being the other mana dork, a 2 mana 2/2 that can tap to add a mana of any color, and you put a nest counter on it when you do. You can also tap it and sacrifice it to create a bunch of 2/2 green spider creature tokens with reach, 1 for each counter that was on the creature. And it doesn't only care about those nest counters, it cares about every single counter. So if you're piling this thing up with +1/+1 counters from all of your other cards, and then maybe even throwing a bunch of flying and lifelink counters on it too when something dies to the Reluctant Role Model, you can actually get the Twitching Doll up to a huge amount of counters, and then just make an entire board of 2/2s with reach that can just end the game super quick, kind of out of nowhere. Your opponent usually doesn't see it coming, and it's pretty wild. And in this deck it gets even better because it is a 2-power creature, so you sack it to get all those spiders, and then next turn you can just bring it back with the Smile at Death and start it all over again, so that even if they do wipe the board or you know, have their own way of generating an insane amount of value to keep up with all those spiders, you can start to accumulate even more value by just bringing it back and getting that snowball rolling again, which is kind of bonkers. We also have 3 copies of Marketback Walker, which is super cool in this deck. A lot of times you're just going to play it as a 1/1 for 2 mana, but that 1/1 is technically in the form of a +1/+1 counter. And the more mana you dump into this, the more counters it enters with. You can also pay 4 mana to put a counter on it. But the reason this is so good in this deck is if you play it when you have a Warden of the Grove out with a few counters on it, it's going to come in with those extra counters, which is kind of crazy. This thing can come in with a huge amount of counters out of nowhere for very little mana, and then if it dies, it just draws you a ton of cards, because every single counter on this when it dies will draw you a card, which obviously in a deck like this is just absolutely bananas. It is worth noting, and we figured this out while we were playing, I think it's actually in one of the games in this video, you can't play this for 0 and then still have it survive with +1/+1 counters from the Endure off of Warden of the Grove. The way things trigger, the creature ends up dying before the ability to choose to put counters on the creature from Warden resolves. So don't try to play this for 0 thinking that you're going to be able to have it survive with counters from something like Warden of the Grove. You gotta kind of play around that a little bit. That being said, if you only want to endure X in the form of getting a creature token, you can absolutely play the Marketback Walker for 0. It goes straight to the graveyard and then gives you a creature token off of Warden of the Grove, and that's the thing you can absolutely do. And then also you can bring it back with Smile at Death with a counter on it, just because it's a 0 power, which is, you know, 2 or less. So it's really good with the Smile at Death. It can be really good with Warden of the Grove if you play it out correctly. I think it's just really efficient and effective in this deck because of its scalability. Moving on, we've got some removal options. We're obviously running 4 Sheltered by Ghosts. There's so many ways to protect our board in this deck. We already talked about Bulwark Ox. Sheltered by Ghosts, making it even harder for our opponent by giving the creature Ward 2, also gives us +1 power and lifelink, and then exiles any target non-land permanent and opponent controls. So absolutely the best removal we could be using in this deck. Like I said, especially since we have so many ways of protecting our board, protecting our creatures. So whatever this is on, a lot of times we can do something like sack a Bulwark Ox when they try to kill it so that we don't lose the Shelter by Ghosts, which is really important. In addition, we also have 3 Invasion of Gobakhan, which goes right alongside the Bulwark Ox as a way to protect our board. First, we're going to play it for 2. It's going to exile something from their hand and make it cost 2 more, so we can really mess with their ability to curve out the way that they want. And then all we have to do is swing into it and flip it, and we get the Light Shield Array. Now we're putting +1/+1 counters on every creature that attacks every single turn, activating all of those synergies, and we also have access to another way to protect our board by sacrificing this enchantment and giving all creatures we control hexproof and indestructible until end of turn. I think this card is one of the most underestimated, underappreciated cards in Standard right now, and it's absolutely insane in this deck. That being said, it's not as good as the Bulwark Ox, because the Bulwark Ox can also come back to Smile at Death, which is really, really nice. And once we sack the Gobakhan to protect our board, we don't necessarily have a way to bring it back, but it's still absolutely nuts. We also have one last card in Collector's Cage. Now this one does feel a little bit win more, a lot more so than the Smile at Death, to be honest, but I still think it's a great addition. 2 mana for an artifact, we hide away 5 when we play it, which means we get to find the best card in the top 5, stick it into exile, and then we have this ability to pay 1 mana and tap the Collector's Cage, put a counter on whatever we want, and if we have 3 different creatures with different powers, we get to play the thing that's hidden away for free. This can get us a bunch of extra value. It's also just a consistent way to pile up counters on creatures every single turn, which is why it's in this deck. We don't have a lot of like super expensive hits off of Collector's Cage. It's not in here so that we can cheat out something big. It's just in here because it's super efficient. If we play a 2-drop spell, and then we get to play something that costs 2 or 3 off of it for free, we're still getting a very effective way of creating value for little to no mana, while also getting access to a way to put counters on our creatures every single turn. So it's absolutely worth the addition, I think. But like I said, it does feel a little bit more win more than even the Smile at Death. So I wouldn't necessarily fault you for cutting these. I still think they're worth it. Just being able to trigger our +1/+1 counter synergies whenever we want for very cheap, and getting access to a little bit of extra free value off of it as well to replace the card is just really, really good. The mana is meant to be just super fast. We've got 4 Razorverge Thicket, 4 Hushwood Verge, Razorverge Thicket, Hushwood Verge, 2 forests, 3 plains, 4 fabled passages to find them, and 1 Restless Prairie. That's the only land that has to enter tapped. I think it's worth it because we go so wide with creatures to at least have access to one of these. That being said, we're kind of tilting more in the direction of Fabled Passage, specifically because we do have a Bristly Bill in here, and being able to search for lands, especially if it's our 4th land or later, and it's not even going to come into play tapped, does provide extra value with Bristly Bill. So that's kind of the direction we went with the mana base. But the deck is really awesome. I feel like there's probably an even better version of this, just like kind of lying dormant just beneath the surface waiting to be discovered, and I've already got some crazy ideas off of playing this version. But even this version itself is super good. We barely lost at all. We're just cranking right through the ranked ladder, and it was super fun. So let's check out the games. Yeah, we're gonna have to be friends on Steam. I'm gonna keep this. I was just explaining a gameplay mechanic, Finn. I'm not going to go into any more detail. Alright, we're going to start with the Thicket. Pass the turn. What if I don't want to discard an online card, you know? What if I don't want to? We're actually going to get rid of Bristly Bill. I don't think it's as good as some of the other stuff. Let's get a role model out early and hopefully start putting things on it. Nope, he's gonna kill it. That's fine. That's fine. We'll need to play the Warden just to be mana efficient. We're gonna dump a Collector's Cage because against Pixie, I don't think we're gonna have enough creatures. I don't think we're going to have enough cards to get to enough creatures, if that makes sense. Warden of the Grove, Tithing Blade. Dude's just got the answer every time, man. Freaking Pixie decks. Well, I guess we just go with 2 role models. And we try to leverage them. Levels up the bandit's talent, but what else does he have? Dragonstorm to drain. What else? Alright, we're just going to hold on to these. So that he doesn't get to draw extra cards and stuff. Flying. And lifelink. End the turn. Does he have discard? That's the question. He's going to sack the Hopeless Nightmare to scry. Another reluctant role model? That's stupid good, guys. You don't understand how good multiple reluctant role models is. So good. Every time one thing dies, all 3 trigger. No, come on! Why would you do that? Why would you do that to me? You evil bastardo. You evil bastardo. Carrot cake. I knew it's going to take him at least one whole turn to get another Bandit's talent and get it leveled up to level 3. Which is why I was okay going down to just one card in my hand. Do we even need to? I mean, guess. If we do this, he drains us, kills 2 things, but we get back 3 reluctant role models. Yeah, I don't think it's worth it. Don't think it's worth it. I don't think it's worth it. Just gain some life. He's gonna have to get pretty lucky with his top decks here, so we're just gonna play the elf out. It actually ends up becoming a lot more relevant because of Restless Prairie being ready to go. And it's a good thing I did that. I'd rather gain the life. We'll draw the cards eventually. We don't need them yet. We do not need them yet. Come on, man. No resting. No sleeping on the job. What are you doing, Polly? You want a cracker? I think Polly wants a cracker. Polly want a cracker. I think you should pass priority first. Hi, Bobo. Good boy. Fish tacos. All the tacos. Kind of tempted to do this time to draw some cards. This can get us value as it builds up throughout the game too. The difference is we don't draw cards if we sack this. We will keep the extra land in our hand. And if he gets another temporary lockdown, we're going to be very sad. Because the Ox can't protect against that. And we lose everything. Except the Restless Prairie. Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? Unbelievable. Unbelievable. I'm like the babe. I call my shots, except it's always something really bad. Alright, forget this. Let's just kill him in 3 turns, 4 turns, whatever it is. Sick of this crap. I'm sick of this crap. We're just gonna kill you with the Restless Prairie, and that's it. That's it. I ain't messing around no more. I'm allergic to assholes. What can I say? I'm allergic to assholes. 2 turns away. What are you gonna do? What are you gonna do? Hopeless Nightmare, sure. Goodbye. What else? What else are you gonna do? Because we're just gonna keep our cards in our hands so you get no value off your talent. Actually, hold on. Why can't I look at this? Hello? Hello? Why won't it let me click it? What the hell? It literally won't let me see what's underneath it. There it goes. Alright, can't do that one, right? Sack 2 things. Draw, drain. Probably not worth it. Nah. We'll just keep on keeping on. He's almost dead, right? He's almost dead. Alright, go to 3. Take your turn. Go on. Go to 3 and take your turn. Take your licks. Storm Chaser's talent. Oh, what are you gonna get back? Serum Snare? You can't return the prairie that way. All right. It all comes down to this. We're attacking with 3 power creatures next turn. I take that back. But we still got you. We got you with the prairie, baby. Let's go. Alright, so we have no access to white mana yet, but we do have a Twitching Doll on 2, and if it doesn't die, we can get white out of that. I think it's definitely worth keeping. We'll play out the Pawpatch Recruit on 1 to try and give him a target. And see if maybe we can divert his attention away from the Twitching Doll. We shall see. Alright. Well, we're definitely going to want a Twitching Doll first. And we'll attack with the Pawpatch Recruit. We don't really want to trade the Pawpatch Recruit if we can help it. I think it's more valuable alive for us. Gnawing Vermin. Alright, so we can no longer swing in with that. I mean, I think the best thing to do is just Warden of the Grove. Pass the turn. Dog's excited. Hey! No grumping. No. Come here. Come here. We're playing Magic the Gathering. The vampires aren't real, buddy. It's gonna be okay. It's gonna be okay. Collector's Cage could be really good. We can't trigger it yet. We're gonna need things to line up slightly differently in order to do that. So I don't know if we actually want to play it right away. I guess our best bet is to play the Dusk Legion Duelist, have it enter with a counter from Warden of the Grove, and then hopefully draw into a land. Alright, Dusk Legion Duelist gets a counter. Unfortunately, we can pay 0 on the Walker, though. It didn't enter with a counter. Oh, okay, so it dies before it even gets a chance for the trigger to resolve. I didn't realize that's how that would work. Interesting. Well, we'll get a dude either way. At least we know that for the future. No attacks. Put another counter on the Warden. Next turn we're set up for Collector's Cage pretty well. And it doesn't look like our opponent's got any removal for us. Him not getting rid of the Warden is a huge, huge problem for him. I kind of want a Sheltered by Ghosts, but I actually think it'll be better to just go way over the top with this. Hide away. Another Warden. I think Bulwark Ox would be better. Protect our board. Protect our board. And draw a card. That seems pretty good. That seems pretty good. And then Warden will trigger. We'll get counters on the Ox. Move to combat. Like, I don't know. Do we just swing and make him make bad trades and then use the Bulwark Ox to protect everything? I actually think it's better to save the Bulwark Ox for later and to build up our board state more now. Because if we lose it on the attack here, and then he has like a board wipe, which he probably doesn't have, but also we don't really know what he's doing, right? He's probably going to look to raise the past. We'll find out. We will find out very soon. Nesting bot. Sure. Sure. Pass. Alright, it is our turn. We finally have another land. We don't quite have enough for the Smile by Death now. I think we're going to Shelter by Ghosts on the Warden. And we will eat. What do we want to eat? I guess we eat the 𝐒𝐿 since it's the biggest thing. Alright, he sacks something in response. To Surveil. Let's play the Dusk Legion Duelist. And we'll do counters so that we can draw. I think this time we want to swing. We'll saddle with the Pawpatch Recruit, because we don't want to attack with that. And swing with everything. Put a counter on the Duelist, draw another card. This swing is absolutely worth having to potentially sack the Bulwark Ox. 100%, but he's going to have to basically lose his board to put us in a position where we need to do that. Yeah, we'll just kill everything, I guess. He must be just hoping to top deck Raise the Past. Okay. We'll get another counter on, I guess, you know what? Let's make the Pawpatch Recruit a little bit more resilient, and also give ourselves the ability to protect it with the Bulwark Ox. Alright, another counter on the Warden. Bartholomew comes down. Even that's just not going to be enough at this point. It really isn't. We got a Hushwood Verge. We got a Smile at Death, but do we even need it? Do we even need it? I say we just hold on to it. Put a counter on the Duelist. Draw a card. We do have the ability to put a counter on something at instant speed with Collector's Cage, which is kind of nice. You know what? Alright. Gonna get a counter. Why didn't he block something with the Bartolome? It seems really weird to me. He could have killed something, right? Maybe forced us to use our Bulwark Ox? Is he not gonna sack the gas guzzler? Alright. And then we'll play Smile at Death. Now our whole board is pretty much protected. We get a counter on the Warden. This guy has no chance. I mean, he hasn't seen Erase the Past. But even Erase the Past wouldn't help him at this point. Pretty crazy. Alright, looks like we got a 2-lander. We can play the Pawpatch Recruit on 1. And we've got some options on 2. Probably Gobakhan or Role Model. Either way, it's definitely worth keeping. Start with that Thicket and that Pawpatch Recruit. Let's see what the opponent's got up his sleeve. Hired Claw. Hired Claw. I mean, I think we want to Reluctant Role Model. Let's attack, because I don't think he's going to trade. Alright. Reluctant Role Model. Next turn we Gobakhan, because we can swing into it and flip it. I'd rather not give that information away to our opponent, so that he holds up blockers to stop us. Because otherwise I think he just tries to be as aggressive as possible. It seems like that's the kind of deck he's running. Yeah, definitely. Mono red. Absolutely. Swift Spear. No blocks. We will capitalize on his greed. Or at least we'll try to. If we can survive next turn, then I think we're alright. Let's see. He's only got 2 mana. He's got Lightning Strike. I guess we hit the Manifold Mouse, right? Make it really hard for that to be relevant for him. Alright, Reluctant Role Model will get a lifelink counter. And the turn, they both get +1/+1 counters, and we just have to survive this turn. Gets the land, plays the Screaming Nemesis. Okay. If I knew for sure he had a 3rd land coming, the Screaming Nemesis would have been the hit. But I was trying to bank on the chances that he wouldn't top deck one. Ooh, he's gonna hold it back. I guess that makes sense. I guess that makes sense. He wants to shut off my lifelinking. He wants to shut off my lifelinking. That's okay, though. Do we have a way to tap this? I don't think we do. Alright, here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna only let the Screaming Nemesis through. Only. Only. Swift Spear. Somebody thinks they're cool. Just a note to those of you watching, people that think they're cool enough to do that are the ones that are not. Resolve all. Go ahead. You silly bastard. Let's kill some stuff, shall we? Goodbye to your whole team, and we'll gain the 3 back. Ooh, and we've got a Bulwark Ox. I think it's the right time for the cage, though. The cage can hit sheltered by ghosts? Oh, hell yeah. Shelter by ghosts for free on you. Hit the Screaming Nemesis. Attack with everything. Gain 8 life. Good night, Mono Red. Good night, Mono Red. And we'll give it flying just to make sure we can swing in every turn. Even if he does get another Screaming Nemesis. Plays the Hired Claw. Yeah, you have no chance now, buddy. You have no chance. If you had had a shock, you could have maybe got your Nemesis back. Let's get that Bulwark Ox down. We are going to swing with everything. I don't think our opponent can do enough in response. He's gonna rope us? Is he gonna rope us? There will be none of that. Alright. Smash. What would you like to block, sir? Lightning strike that. Yeah, doesn't even matter, man. Doesn't even matter, man. This looks pretty good, actually. We'll keep it. Llanowar Elves on 1. Any 2-drop on 2. And maybe even if we draw something a little bit better, we could do more. Yeah, you know what? Let's Llanowar Elves on 1. If he doesn't kill it, we're probably going to offspring a Pawpatch Recruit on 2. And then we'll start getting to work with the Shelter by Ghosts. That's my thought. That's my thought. Although we could also play another Llanowar Elves. That wouldn't be the worst ever, but he's holding up mana, so he's probably going to kill stuff. So, considering the fact that he's probably going to burn our creatures before the end of our turn, I think it's better to play the Pawpatch Recruits. Seems pretty good. Okay, he's not even. He's seeking the beast. I'm completely fine with that. You seek the beast, my friend. You do it. You do it. My doggo is snoring away. He deserves it. He's tuckered out. Bolt wave, sure. Swing in for another 2. No blocks. No blocks. We've got another 3 mana. We could offspring another Pawpatch Recruit. I think that's a bit much, though. Let's do this. Eat the Questing Druid. Swing in for 4, gain 3 life back. Now he kind of has to kill the Pawpatch Recruit. But if he does, we get to shoot 2 counters off. And he has to pay the ward, which slows him down to an insane degree. I think you're out of luck, buddy. Screaming Nemesis. Not bad. Gonna have to gain as much life as we can at this point. Another Sheltered by Ghosts. Oh god. We can only play 1 white spell. I guess we'll just play out the other Pawpatch Recruit. It is mana inefficient, but at this point we're just going way over the top anyway, so it kind of doesn't matter. We're up to 13. He's down to 3 cards in hand. Another Bolt Wave, sure. Sure. If you can't shut off our life gain, it's just over, man. It's just over. Lightning Strike. Oof. Close but no cigar. Close but no cigar. I mean, I guess we just do this. That's 5 Pawpatch Recruits out. Emberheart Challenger. It's just not enough, man. It's just not enough. We'll just end it right here. Got nothing he can do. He loses his entire board. Absolutely worth it. We'll find a white source. He'll probably scoop before we finish his turn. There we go. I gotta hand it to him, though. He didn't scoop. He let us finish the game. This is a very unfortunate hand. Absolutely unplayable. Even if we find the green to play the Llanowar Elves, we have to wait until turn 2 to do it. And then we have no white for the rest of our hand. And if we find white, we don't have 2 mana to play any of the other spells. Definitely mulligan. Another really bad hand. Wow. I do think we're going to try and make this one work, though. I don't think it's worth it to go down to 4. Or go down to 5, rather. Does look like our opponent's probably going to be playing aggro of some sort. But he didn't play a 1-drop. So, I'll take it. I will take it. Alright, we're going to find green here. Make sure we can play our Llanowar Elf. Does he shock it? That's the question. Screaming Nemesis, so no shock. If we can get our Sheltered by Ghosts, we might be okay. Might be okay. Let's find a white source. Is it better to play the Warden of the Grove? Or to get out a Llanowar Elf and a Reluctant Role Model? The sooner we get that Warden of the Grove bigger, the sooner it can start being an effective blocker. So I'm kind of leaning towards that, but he probably has a Lightning Strike for it, right? But if he does have a Lightning Strike, he's going to be able to rock our Role Model anyway. and it's kind of not going to matter. So I think we're going to play Warden, and we're going to take our chances. He has to have a lightning strike here, which he probably will. Nope. No blocks. He's just got like Monstrous Rage, something to give trample, so it doesn't matter. Weird that he targeted the Nemesis, though. Oh, like he's got another one for the Challenger. Okay, I guess that makes sense. Yeah. That's the game, I guess. This hand looks pretty good. We don't have any 1-drops. But that's okay. We can get the Fabled Passage out of the way. Probably find a forest. Pawpatch Recruit. Is this some sort of a mirror match? I don't think so. More than likely, it's... a rabbit deck? Okay. I was thinking maybe it was a Bright Glass Gearhulk. Alright, let's crack the Fabled Passage, find ourselves a forest. Not a 5-ist. A forest. Alright, Hushwood Verge. I think we want to get the Reluctant Role Model down. Which isn't super great because we don't really want to trade with it, and we also don't really want to take all of this damage. But unfortunately we just didn't have a 1-drop and he was on the play, so we have to kind of come to terms with the fact that he's just ahead and he's gonna be ahead. And hopefully we can make up for that later. Guard Mentor. That's fine. That's fine. I mean, do we just trade for this? I think we do. Since it also takes the power of the Mentor down. I think we just do. I don't love it. But I think it makes sense. Now we'll get the Warden out. The sooner we get the Warden out, the sooner we can get its counters built up. We'll let the Mentor through for sure, but we'll block the Quest Caller if he dares to sack with it. Attack with it. You can tell I'm tired. Where's my coffee? If he dares to attack with it. No blocks. No blocks, sir. You do you. So, if we don't top deck a land, I think we lead with the Dusk Legion Duelist and attempt to top deck a land. Alright. Well, let's do it. +1/+1 counter. No land. Well, I guess in this instance, it's probably better to do this and make a 1/1. Next to combat. Do we hold back the Warden of the Grove as a blocker? I think we do. I think we do just this one turn because it's going to be a 4/4. We still probably won't block with it. But I think to bluff him out and prevent him from attacking with more things, we know we're going to go over his head with value if we can just stay alive. So we don't need to race him. We just need to stay alive. Phineas. Seasoned Warring Guard, sure. Sure. Knight Errant of Eos, nice. That is leaving you pretty open, though. Pretty open. We've got 4 mana. We could play another Warden of the Grove. We could also Gobakhan. But if we Gobakhan, do we have a way to buff up our dude so that we can swing and flip it past the 4/4? I don't think so. I don't think so. I think our best bet is play a Warden, get counters, play a Pawpatch Recruit, make 2/2s, play our land, next to combat, no attacks, end the turn, get counters on the Wardens, and set up for even crazier turns, potentially. Another Valley Quest Caller. That is fine. Ooh, he's just going for it. Okay. One there. One there. We're gonna get rid of one of the buffs. So this will be an 8/8. This will be a 3/3. It's a trample, huh? We just let this one through. It's got trample. I don't want to just let it through, but I think we just kind of have to. We know he can't do any tricks. Going down to 2 is rough, but with him not having a board left, I don't think it's that rough. Yeah. Good night. Good night, sweet prince. Thanks so much for checking out my channel. I'd like to give a huge shout out to all of my patrons over at Patreon. Without you guys, this channel would not be possible, so honestly, thank you from the bottom of my heart for all of your contributions. If you haven't yet, like and subscribe. The more likes we get and the quicker we get them, the bigger this channel will grow and the faster it will grow. I'd love nothing more than this channel to become something very special for you guys, but it's entirely up to you how fast that happens. Also, if you'd like more deck text, that's somewhere over there. And if you'd like to see what else the channel's been up to lately, that's somewhere up that way. Also, subscribe, circle below, do all the things.